Yes, I think
Okay.
I did prepare a little bit questions,
Okay. All right.
but I think first of all, I
Yeah.
wanted to ask, right,
Mm.
because you are able to like identify what's the problem and everything
Ah.
of game and pointing out stuff like that. How do we like get to this level in a sense? If you get what I
Oh.
mean.
Okay. Okay.
Is it purely like based on experience, or is it like purely like you have to really go and play other games to understand all of this? What is like the thing that we kind of lack and we need to work on to like be able to identify these kinds of things?
Yep. Yep. Okay. I understand. I would say one of your challenge is because I can sort of understand where you're coming from based on how the way you phrase the document. You have to think of I would say it like this. If you're thinking of a concept or you're thinking of an idea, there's many different layers to it. So like there's layer zero, there's layer one, there's layer two. So I want you to challenge yourself to think one layer ahead of where you are right now. And then when you're there, think one more layer deeper. Think one more layer deeper. Like for example, steal an item from a place. This phrase is a very simple phrase. Like, oh, I'm stealing an item. But this is layer zero. I'm reading the phrase, oh, this game is about stealing an item. Okay? I would say layer two. What does stealing an item in Monaco different from stealing an item in Metal Gear Solid, from stealing an item in Splinter Cell, from stealing an item in this other game? Turn-based is not just the fact that a game is your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. That is turn-based. Turn-based means your turn, my turn, but resource management, but clear definition of spaces. There's a lot of baggage that comes from the word turn-based, and people will just see turn-based as, oh, it's your turn, my turn, therefore it's turn-based. End of story. But if you take all the turn-based games in history and you look at all of them, you will start to see that, wow, 90% of them are about strategy. So then you say, what? That means by turning a game turn-based, I am indirectly turning it into a strategy game. Yeah, so
So
is that
it's more of like, okay, I am saying this one factual thing about my game,
yes,
then how do I analyze this factual into a more specific fact
correct.
that that kind of define my game even more better? Is it?
Yes, correct. You see, feel the tension of guard approaching, right? Feel the tension of guard approaching. Now, if you look at feel the guard tension of guard approaching in different games, how do they express this? You're in the right idea already. The tension of the guard approaching is there, but because you're turning it into a turn base, how do you make tension express itself strategically? If you see, tension comes from the fact that he's getting closer, he's getting closer, he's getting closer. Oh, now I'm seen. But tension like that don't exist in turn base, right? Because my turn, boom, suddenly he's in front of me there. I cannot take any action in between already. Now, how does tension express in a turn based game? How would that look like? In the turn based games, tension comes from two different ways. Number one, I do not have enough resources to do the thing I want, so I need to take a risk. Okay. The second thing is a little bit cheaper, but it exists for a reason. Is chance. XCOM does it right. Chance, right? Chance is I take the gun, I aim 87%. Oh, if I hit this 87%, 87% sounds a good number, but what if I miss? Maybe should I get closer to bring it up to 90? That's where the tension comes in, right? Because the resource, right? Do I want to spend more resource to move closer to cut down the chance, or do I want to take the chance and go for it? That's where the tension comes, right? Guard approaching, the tension, it does not exist anymore already. Feel the tension of guard approaching in Robbery Bob and Payday 2 is like that, but how does that tension translate into turn-based game? That's layer 2 already. You need to ask yourself. Whenever you see a phrase, try to ask yourself one more layer deeper. Like what am I missing? What am I not seeing yet? Be a bit more critical. Not everything is as straightforward as it seems. People might see these two games on a very surface level as very similar. The more you play it, the more you realize that, oh, there's a lot of small things they do that are very different from one another. And the more of this small thing piles out, it becomes like so different at the end of the day. Yep.
Okay.
So build this habit of like ask yourself, steal things. I took it from Payday. How do they do it in Baldur's Gate? How do people steal things in Baldur's Gate? Does it feel different? So now you look at Payday and now you look at Baldur's Gate. Then you ask yourself, wow, stealing things actually these two they do it very differently. Then you start to see the subtleties in differences in between already. My gut tells me is that when you see turn based, you think of my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn. But it's actually more than that.
Mm.
Yeah, and experience help, yes, but the experience also comes from the fact that you need to question these mechanics all the time.
Okay, because when you were explaining just now, you kind of mentioned something of the tension in turn-based game where it's like the 80%, 87% chance to hit,
Yep,
the chance-based thing, right?
yep.
Is it bad that we implement it in our game? Because we kind of did think about adding a chance-based thing, but
Ah.
it's like we make it in a way that the player failed because it's just lose the 20%. They did not fail because it's a skill issue. They
Mm.
fail is because a chance.
Okay, if you decide to add chance into the game, you need to counter the chance with more strategic planning or more resource management. What do I mean by this? In Slay the Spire, your deck is driven by chance. What you draw is up to chance, correct? But
Yes.
you can spend resource to edit your deck. You can add more cards, you can take out more cards, you can change the properties of some cards. You have to add the element. Now you're not eliminating chance, but you're modifying the chance. You are making your deck more consistent by spending more resources on it. So if you do want to add chance into your game, you need to ask yourself what are your resources to help manage the chance. In XCOM, the chance of you hitting a target depends on your weapon or your stats or your position and maybe enemy type. Like there's a lot of elements that decide what chance there is. Rather than add chance just by adding for the sake of adding, you need to ask yourself what dictates the chance of your game, and you need to make it very very clear. I'll give you an example. Let's just say the chance of me getting spotted in the dark is lower than me getting spotted in bright lights. But let's just say there is a dark area and a shady area and a bright area, and I don't have enough resource to move to the dark area. So then I have to ask myself, do I want to take a chance by going into the shady area and not get seen? Or do I want to wait for longer or maybe spend more resource to, to get around a different way to get to a better hiding spot? So I am making a cost decision to modify my chance. And if you don't have that, then people will feel like your chance is like how to say, it's very tacked on.
So kind of like play into the resource management in a way
Yes,
also,
yes,
I
yes.
assume.
Yes, correct. Chance is tied to resource management. Like for example, in Baldur's Gate combat, right? Whether I hit enemy with an arrow, the chance is heavily increased if I get to higher ground. Correct. So now,
Yes.
do I? Okay, so then I ask myself, do I just stand in front of the character and just shoot until they die, or I spend a little bit of points, move to a higher ground, and get a better chance to bet more consistent shot on this particular enemy? So then it becomes a strategic choice. So now I have to decide either or. A rule of thumb is this: if your decision don't have a either or, then it becomes very shallow. This is a very like quick rule of thumb that you can sort of rely on. If I do this, I cannot do this. So that is the thing lah. So if your game has chance, I recommend you make sure that the relationship between the chance and the resource is clear. Mm.
Then another question that I have here is that I think based on our feedback, not a lot of people say like our stealing was the main point that was the fun aspect of our game.
Yep.
And I was kind of wondering whether this is a very, very huge problem because it's technically a heist game, right?
Yep. Yep.
It's technically supposed to be all about stealing, all about getting
Yep.
that big bag of money out from the level and earning as much as you can. If this was not
Yep.
inside the game, is I think it for me, I think it will be a problem, but
Mm.
at the same time, I would like to hear like your thoughts about it, lah.
I don't think your main issue is the stealing element. I think the main issue is the ambiguity. I'll give you two main things people enjoy stealth game. Me personally, I used to play a lot of Metal Gear Solid back in the day. The main appeal for me is stealth game is that wow, I outsmarted all the enemies, or I managed to map out this map so well that I can just sneak past it completely because I'm using the information that the game is giving me to make decision, and that for me is the appeal. Whether I'm stealing things or not, I don't really care. I just care about the fact that I managed to get Party's guard. Oh, I managed to take this guy down in a very strategic way, or like I managed to turn off this camera first and then I go into this room. The strategy part is more appealing to me. Um, I feel the overlap of a stealth game and a turn-based game is the strategy element. So whether you're stealing things or you're escaping, it's not really as important as the fact that what is the strategy. And the strategy comes from the resource management and the clarity of information. Clarity of information helps you make better decision to spend resources to get what you want. The appeal is more of like can how much I can get away with how little I have. That's the appeal of a turn-based game and the appeal of a stealth game.
But if let's say your objective is not appealing enough, will that game be even good? Like let's say you have a very good strategy side, a very
Yep.
very good stealth side, but then at the end of the day, the objective of the end goal is not great. It's just probably you trying to take this thing and get out, and that's all.
My personal opinion is that I don't think that's the main thing. One thing about playtesters, right? When playtesters they express their concerns, sometimes it's up to you to sort of like identify where the real problem is. My feeling is that because your game, the stealing element, right? I don't think it's the main issue. I feel that if you can solve a lot of these design problems that I mentioned, the fact that the stealing is the only thing becomes less important because there's a lot of fun to be had with the game itself already. The fact that you can decide, you can outsmart guards, you can spend resources and whatnot. Because if you play Invisible Ink, right, you're also like stealing stuff. You're not say stealing stuff. Like I think you're trying to access like a particular console. The goal is very straightforward as well, but the goal is just a goal. It's just a means to an end. The whole gameplay, the whole fun is all of this. That's the whole fun. Whether you're stealing something or you're escaping, I don't think is as a main thing. And let's say lah, even though if it really is a problem, could be the flavor thing. What's the fantasy, right? Stealing a laptop, maybe not as fun as stealing like like a secret top secret company plan or whatever it is. Like that. This is an element. But again, I personally think that's not the main issue. The main issue is still the expression of the game itself. The mechanics, the ambiguity, the flavor of it. Yeah, I think those are more important.
Yeah, I think this is another question I have. Is
Yep.
because you mentioned one of the main two things that we have as a problem is the counterplay when you are getting seen by a guard.
Yes.
So let's say if we were to introduce like a shop,
Yep.
because we have to introduce a shop because of the paper that I'm writing for this final year project.
Ah, right.
So
Okay, yeah, yeah.
so so because of this thing where you have to try your best to earn as much money, and let's say the counterplay element of it is something that you need to buy from the shop. Maybe
Mm.
it's a equipment that you can use that you buy, then when you get spotted by a guy you use the equipment, you turn invisible or something like that.
Yep.
Is that like a good game design in a way?
I might be wrong here because I didn't play the Invisible Ink. I only watched a few gameplay videos. They also have a resource system. They also have like some sort of currency that you can earn, and this is optional as well. Like you can get more money or less money depending on how you maneuver around, and you can also buy things. The way I look at this game is this: you can get more money, but usually that involves more risk. And because you're taking more risk in one level, you might reduce the risk in the next level, if that makes sense. If you do decide to reward the players for making future levels easier, I don't think you should give them for free. I think you should make them work for it. That's what I feel. Mm. Yeah,
I
yeah,
see.
yeah. So taking
Okay.
more risks will give you more reward. And if you even everything out, hopefully it would balance itself out lah. And I feel these rewards shouldn't be too powerful as well. Like turning completely like it shouldn't again. Uh, let's just say lah, I have a gadget that turns me completely invisible. I can walk around freely. There's no thought in using the gadget. Why not I just use it? Why not I just spend it? Even though it's limited, it's a no-brainer. I can just use it. I would be very careful with the thing you can buy. Like for example, I can buy this item where I can unlock doors from 2 tiles away. Maybe that's a better advantage because like that makes the level easier. It doesn't take away the strategic element of the game.
Okay, this I think this one is the most bugging one in my head
Yeah,
that
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
think that I'm trying to solve. It's like because our game we don't have like a proper structure in a way.
Uh-huh.
We just thought of it like okay, we have two levels,
Yep,
easy, medium, hard, and
yep,
that's all.
yep.
And the thing that's bugging me like hell in my mind is that if the game is structured that way, right? Then I feel like players is like will think like, then what's the point of the shop? It doesn't like it might the delivery might be in a way that okay, if I buy this thing, it just makes the level easier and probably makes the level not play the intended way that I design the level. So people might kind of like avoid the shop in a way, and that kind of like brings down the value of the items and everything. then I did think of like stuff like, okay, if I make this two level consecutive,
Mm.
you complete this level, you gather info, and it translate it into the next level. But that kind of like increase the how I need to design everything more intricate in a way.
Yep, yep, yep. Okay. I think you're facing two different problems. So I'll break it down. Lah. The reason why you want this shop is because of a paper you're writing, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
paper is about risk,
yeah,
reward, and
yeah.
difficulty.
Yes, yes. So you are implementing a game design concept because you want to sort of explore the particular idea and you know how you want to how you want to express a particular idea through this paper in this particular game that you're making, correct? And because you only have three levels, you worry it cannot come true. Is that what your concern is? Like three
Mm,
levels, what's the point, right?
like
Yeah.
no, it's not even three. I think it's only
Oh.
two levels, but each two
Ah.
levels have like easy, medium, and hard.
Okay, okay. I'll say this now. This game you're making, I'll give you a scope, okay? You are making this game as an FYP. You're making this game as a proof of concept. When you make this game for two levels, does not mean that this game is two levels. Period. You can
Yeah,
express a concept conceptually, and you might not express the concept in its entirety. Like for example, oh, I only have two levels. Then what's the point of being a shop? But the point is that you're not trying to make just two levels, right? You're just trying to prove a concept that okay, this mechanic in this game exists, and I can show it in two levels max. But that does not mean that that's the end of your story, right? You're trying to express a conceptual idea. So when you think that is not enough, the fact that it's already in, I think it's already enough, if that makes sense. Sure, maybe a shop, it is best understood the more levels you have. But because you don't really have the scope and time for it, that's not really an option for you. But that does not mean that that's the end of that story. Because you're not making a commercial game here. You're just making a FYP. But of course, if you want to expand this more, you have the room for it. That's fine. Don't see it as like, oh, two levels are what's the point? If it's just to express this idea, two levels is enough.
okay. I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
You
that
don't, you don't, you don't, you don't, you don't think of it like, oh my god, people get it or not? If they don't,
yeah,
it's fine. But for you as a developer, like learning developer, the fact that you have this concept exist in the game already is good enough. If that makes sense.
yeah, that makes sense. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that
yeah. Don't
can
don't 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 think so big. Don't think so big. Just focus on what you have for now. Second thing, maybe you can try to experiment is why not have your shop in the level itself. In Invisible Ink, right? To you can actually get more power in the level itself. Credit is something that sticks through at the end of the game, but power is something that you can actually earn in the level itself by hacking specific terminals. So what you can also do is this: you can introduce your quote unquote shop. Maybe it's not a shop, like maybe it's like a hacking tool or whatever. How I don't know how you want to express it, but there is resources to it, and you start with zero resource. And the more risk you take in game, you might make certain things easier later on. So that's also something that you can try. I don't fully recommend it because I think the problem that you're facing is overblown in your own head, if that makes sense.
yeah,
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 yeah. So
yeah,
so it's overblown in your own head. So don't think of it that far. Yeah, yeah. But if you're still worried about it, that's another idea. But I wouldn't recommend it as well. I just recommend stick to your original plan, to have that idea. Check out Invisible as well because they also have a shop system. So see how they do it. And if you can express that idea in just two levels, I think this is good enough for you. I don't think you need anything more. Mm.
Mm, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yep.
All right. Another, I think this is one of the last question because I have some other questions, but I think you already answered them because you kind of like coach us through your session and taught us
Yep.
things. But I think this one is more on to the tutorial because our
Yep.
supervisor want us to like inquire about tutorial and try to like ask us to make a tutorial beforehand, but we are unable to. So I do apologize that we cannot showcase like a tutorial for you to like feedback on.
Yep. Yep.
But I was wondering whether are there any tips we should tackle on to show this tutorial? Because technically our problem right now is about ambiguity, not enough UI and stuff like that. But if we want to make a tutorial, is there like any specific thing that we need to tackle on? Because for now, what I plan for the tutorial is that okay, I'll just load them a really small level and just kind of like force action them and kind of like like really hold their hand tightly and
Mm,
go through the
mm, mm,
level to introduce the mechanic to them.
mm, mm,
And I
mm.
was wondering whether this is the correct idea.
I don't think there's a right and wrong way to do tutorial. So whatever that you speak about just now, I think that works. I think that's perfectly fine. The other option you can do is you can have tooltips appear as you're playing the game. Like for example, right? Let's say if the player plays it for the very first time, you can have the option to help for the tooltips to appear, and then maybe you can just turn it off if you don't need it. Lockpick for the very first time, then the lockpicking tutorial appears. Moving for the first time, the moving tooltip appears, and you can have this appear in the very first level. You can have the option to turn it off if you want. That's like a tutorial already. The first action you take in the game would pop a tutorial out. Because it's a turn-based game, you have a lot of leeway for that. Because turn-based is like time is frozen, right? You can take your time, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
time is
So
frozen, you have
so
unlimited
so
time.
I feel having two tips appear in the turn-based games is not as invasive as a real-time game. Because real-time game is like you're doing something halfway, I'm frozen, my control is taken away from me, and then suddenly I need to play the game at its own pace. But turn-based games, you don't need to worry about that because it's turn-based.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I feel if you don't want to build a special level for tutorial, you can have tooltips appear for first interaction of a type, and then you can have the option to turn it off if you don't want the players to see it at all. Mm.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah, I think the next few questions I have is a little bit more personal because
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a game designer. Is that okay for me to ask
Yeah.
here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
Yeah. No problem.
do
No.
you do okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to be a game designer, right?
Yep.
And for me, when I'm thinking about game design and things that I want to showcase inside my portfolio, I always feel like game designer needs a lot of soft skills more. And I'm
Mm,
always unsure of what to kind of present myself, hey, I can do game design as well. And but I'm not so sure what to put in my portfolio and stuff like that.
mm,
And
mm.
I also not so sure how to improve myself as a game designer outside of like doing game jams, doing a lot of personal projects and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Because there's nothing tangible like programmer or artist where you
Yes.
can something tangible where you can, oh, I can work on this, I can work on this,
Mm,
and
mm,
you
mm.
will know that you are improving. But I cannot find something that is related to game design that I can do in a similar fashion.
Mm, mm, mm. Okay, this is a personal opinion. Art, if you can draw, that's a technical skill because you can see the art. You know how the quality of art looks like or whatnot. Um, if you know, like let's say, I mean, of course, if you know programming, you can prototype or whatever not. But I would expand it to like writing. Writing is also a technical skill. Knowing how to write is a very technical skill as well. Video editing is a technical skill. If you know how to video edit, you know pacing, you know timing, you know like how a scene should linger, you know camera angles, you know camera lingo and things like that. If you know music making, you can make music. So you need one kind of technical skill, and I feel that if you don't have one, if you have a technical skill one way or another, it's easier to translate that into game design. So for me personally, I started off with writing. Writing is my personal technical skill. If let's say I'm not a game designer, at the very minimum I can do writing. My background is theater as well, so I know like character development. I know a little bit of acting. I know a little bit of directing. My technical skill come from those things. So that technical skill helps me to express ideas in game design because by doing something a bit more technical in nature, it helps me to break down. Like the problem you're facing, right, is like like remember I talked about layer one, layer two. The more I write, the more I feel like okay, how do I make this character sound more interesting? How do I make this character sound more angry? Then I'll dig deeper. I'll dig deeper. So that habit builds from there. Knowing a technical skill builds that habit of being very critical of something over and over again. So it becomes a habit that you build up in that technical skill itself. And then when you come to game design, you bring that habit over to game. That's number one. Second thing is modding. Modding also helps you to express game design quite well. If there's a game that you really, really love and that game is moddable, I recommend you try modding it. My favorite game of all time is Magic the Gathering, and it's a card game. I sometimes will design decks and design play experiences for newer players to help them get into game better. So that is my way of modding Magic to combine different cards from different sets to build a more newer like new player experience so that there's not many complicated mechanics. The words are easy to understand because there's like things like small things I will do, like for example I need to make sure every keyword is spelled out in the card itself, otherwise that card is not going into the deck. Because when players read a card, I don't want them to ask, oh, what does this mechanic mean? The card itself will explain to you. So these are small things that I would consider when I mod the game for the experience that I want people to experience. So modding a game helps as well. So that's the other thing, the other thing you can try. Having both is of course very beneficial. So I would pick one of these two things. Either have a technical skill that you can build upon yourself that is not design related, or a modding outlet for yourself.
Yeah, I think that benefits me a lot. Thank you
Yes,
very
yes, yes,
much.
yes. Because game design is still very open and fluid. Because it's very open and fluid, people don't really know how a person designs a game. And usually when a person designs a game, they always fall back on their technical skill. Like gameplay designers, combat designers, economic designers, they have a technical foundation that they build upon. Mm. Yep,
Okay.
yep, okay. All right.
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you a lot. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay. Okay. Thank you, guys. I hope you guys find this helpful. In a couple of days, I will compile the notes that I have for you and just send to you guys to look at it so you can read it as well. And of course, the video will be published lah, so that you can watch it anytime. Mm.
Oh, okay.
All right. Thanks.